Welcome back to Tally Talks, the podcast rainbow about Tally Hall. Today we will be continuing our conversation with Sky.
Interjection. In the following couplet of months that have passed, I have been unable to leave this visual idea that I was trying to expound in the moment alone. It seemed to be rushing through my head in a kind of indescribable flux capacitor-y sort of way, and so I assume that it was just ramblings that cannot be fully visualized by anyone who wasn't inside of my head, which is anyone but me. I think, in an attempt to remedy the situation, I have created essentially like one of those grown-up coloring book sheets with this Stella Octangula-ish kind of shape over here. Currently it is a husk, it is a color begone, but if you happen to already see where I'm going with this, well, color me. Chuffed. Yes, I understand that this is a audio-only podcast, and everything that I've brought to the table has been heavily visual. I'm sorry. For every generation, I'm going to be providing 5 examples of who I think is inside of that generation. These are just people that I know. Don't question me. I made the rules. Replace any example that you don't like with somebody that you do like, and then it will be perfect. Right? That's the only thing that makes it perfect. Starting from the top, I'm going to do a quick pass over every Tally generation that I described, starting with the primary generation, which had one era, I have decided. From 2002 to 2004, it is not a fan generation, unless you would consider the members of Tally Hall to be fans of themselves. I mean, they've all championed the cause. They're fans just like us. Everybody, they're just a big fan. We got Zubin, we got Ross/Steve as Gray/Gray, got Joe, got Rob, got Andrew. Look at this handsome 5-pointed star. But if you take each of their rays separately, why look. Kind of got this idea while looking at the alternative CD art for Party Booby Trap. You might think that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 is simply a joke along the same lines as the dead bow tie guy in one of the early Tally Hall logos. But this, in fact, has a 5th member hidden inside of just the CD itself. Tell me if you see it. Is there? You. It's you. We have always been a part of the Tally Hall mythos. You see yourself in the CD. Let us recognize our primary generation, the members of Tally Hall, everyone. Onto the secondary generation, comprised of 2 eras over the span of 4 years, 2004 to 2008, and formed between the production of complete demos and the first iteration of Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum. These are people that I consider to be synonymous with the band if you know enough about them. We got your Gazes, we got your Bernie J. Michaels, who has been sneaking around in your peripheral at every integral moment of Tally history. We got Bora, got Drew Mokris, Spinner Disc Drew Mokris, we got Rick Lax. Our most magical fish in the second secondary era are people who are still synonymous with the band, but they're separated enough from the actual band themselves to be considered, just super fans. They were witness to the history. They were there when it all happened. So that's people like Oliver, Joanne, Jenny, Dwight, and Jillian, who you probably don't know by that name. I mean to say, what's her name? Which just makes me think of Teen Girl Squad. What's her name? Now we head into my home base, the tertiary generation, which I say was comprised of 3 eras over the span of 8 years, 2008 to 2016. Do you see the pattern forming? The first tertiary era was between Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum's 2008 release, and then, of course, this ends around the time of the full release of the Internet Schwau. Speaking for myself, we were the first group to join an active fan base and to have a generation of fans to look to who had paved the way. People who I know from this first era. We got Josh Face. At least I'm fairly certain that we were the same generation. And here we got Maria, aka QWERTY Deluxe, who single-handedly predicted and/or inspired the entire vision of Shia LaBeouf Live, and has deserved to win Tiny Desk every single time she has entered. Mm-hmm. There's Zoe Playful Punch, there's me, I told you this list was subjective, and there's Arlo. What do you know? There's a happy monster in our band. If you want to connect all the dots, Arlo submitted a video to the Hidden in the Sand I'm Gonna Win contest onto the second tertiary era, which is no internet show all the way up to the release of Good and Evil. Isn't that an interesting time? To me, and probably to you, they are the furthest removed from the band themselves. They're like out of this orbit. They are lost in the wash, so to speak. They are alone at the edge. I think they're least documented of all of the groups because of their lack of visibility in social media circles. It was like a changing of the guards sort of situation. And of course, maybe morale was really low because we knew that even though we were getting this album, that essentially it was the end of things, or so we thought. Essentially, they became like the internet show was during this era, as would shortly Tally Hall become as well. Invisible, not available in a proper configuration. So I actually can't give you any examples from my own experience of the second tertiary era. But like, I know you exist, and I just haven't met you personally. Say hi sometime. Let's just go ahead and fill this in the wop, pop, 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 pop. I like it. The last tertiary era of the third. This was a really crucial time. I don't know if we'd be able to have kept holding that torch if it wasn't for the sort of reinvigoration that was happening both from the disbanded band and then just the groundwork that was happening from all of y'all's to keep our fervor revering. As I said, I'm just going to call this Shia LeBeouf, but he's not one of the ties, promise. This was solo Project Central. It was really grooving now. Many of those who spearheaded this era were actively participating in a way that nobody in this generation had ever seen, but was more common in the past secondary generation. The same kind of like cross-pollination. Brand new opportunities. If you want to find us, we'll be in the garden growing. And while I've seen that fan work of many varied disciplines has always been part of being a Tally fan from the very beginning. I mean, Albino Black Sheep, The Bidding, Ben Kling. I feel like here is the fan work boom. And as they so let their light shine, it gave every era since then permission to do the same. Here we go. Tertiary era. Allegra. Marcy, James LeBlanc, Quotus, Trevelyan. And here we are in the present day, the quaternary generation, which will eventually have 4 eras comprised of 16 years, 2016 to 2032. So far, I feel like we only have one completed era in the quaternary generation. I dub this one the Archivism era, because the foremost members of this era, what they contributed to the scene was that they treated Tally Hall almost like a lost media campaign, which in many ways it is, but, I mean, what isn't, right? These people found and archived absolutely every morsel that this band had ever left behind, any breadcrumbs to possibly lead them towards, and even some that really... they'd been very clean about eating. No crumbs had fallen from their cloaks onto the grassy knoll as they were enjoying a lyrical stroll. As I said, this first quaternary era were among the first to predominantly find Tally Hall through their feed. They also started fan projects not simply as a way to participate as fans, but to keep that torch burning, which we were all well in need of. It really boosted our spirits. Everything about this community felt special again. Like, I couldn't help but get jazzed with the rest of y'all. So thank you, Haley, Ruby, Notfire, Emma Matronics, Emerald Fox 11, second quaternary era, which I dubbed the Sonic Lunch era, underway currently. How exciting is that? We don't even know who the newest predominant members of the community will be in this era. It could be you. Do it. Do it and you're cool. What's the best era? It's always right now, because this is the most vibrant and vivid the community has ever been, up until this very point. And everybody who comes into this community makes it just a little bit more beautiful. So we've got a long way to go to fill this synesthetic spectrum up to its fullest radiance. There are things that can't be seen or heard until you put your beautiful mug and sound your barbaric yop into the tally sphere. Together we shall make this a ring of endless color and light. While putting together the details of this color wheel, I found myself unconsciously creating this powers of 2 sequence, which I find to be beautiful mathematically simply because it shows the exponential growth of our creative joy, essentially. And not only that, but powers of 2? Mayhaps good and evil. Not only that, but I found myself with exactly 42 stages of this color wheel. Well, 42 is my favorite number because of Douglas Adams's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't think that there could be any Tally Hall fan that wouldn't innately enjoy Hitchhiker's Guide. So, yeah, I guess that's another answer to what is my continuing Tally Hall journey. Then as a final thing, if you turn this upside down, you'll notice that it looks like the tally in center stage in this spinning disc looks like they're wearing a vest. I was actually going for black and white, good and evil. It was the only thing that I could think to create a non-muddy transition between the colors towards the gray. Did they start wearing the vests to offset the white of their shirts so that they themselves looked like their album? Is that simple? Do all of you know that? And I just didn't get it until I created this wheel? Like, it just created the most, like, winsome looking wheel, if you don't mind me saying. And it feels like I was solving a mystery of color and value that had been staring me right in the peepers this whole time. And that's why we need so many people on board. We're not just fans, we're all detectives. We're all operatives of a very unspoken organization between passionate unprofessionals. Step right up and take your place in our wonderful color wheel! And bye-bye. Back to your regularly scheduled podcast programming. So one of the things that I recently found and realized that it had to have been one of the primary inspirations for Tally Hall's internet show is something called Look Around You. Have you ever heard of Look Around You?
I have not.
So it was it's on its own, it's basically a parody of old educational videos from like the UK circa 69, maybe 70, somewhere in there. And it is perfectly dedicated to just creating an atmosphere. It's just like it's less that it's hilarious and more that it's like you're watching a transmission from an alternate universe, and it never acknowledges that in any way. And that's how I feel about Tally Hall's internet show. That it's like you're just peeking into somebody's brain, right? Like that's one of the reasons why I love all of their dream segments inside of the internet show. It's not because they're funny. It's because they're just another world entirely, and that they worked really hard to create that beautiful other world. In fact, I wanted to talk about specifically one of the sort of side projects of Look Around You, which is essentially their version of Welcome to Now. So last time that we were talking, and you brought up, where's the rest of the forum backups, if there are any?
Right.
And so it made me remember that there are backups of the Welcome to Now website, which, if any of you don't know, was a subsection of the internet show. They put a couple of clippets from their idea of what this larger project was going to be. I don't know if the idea was to incorporate all of the stuff that they recorded for Welcome to Now inside of the internet show, if it was just going to be its own project. Of course, we can see a little bit of that in the final Good Night episode of Tally Hall's internet show. But I feel like Welcome to Now was probably inspired by Look Around You's Tarvuism. So if you go onto tarvu.com, to this day, there is this incredible website which looks an awful lot like Welcome to Now, which is about a fake and very ill-defined religion and all of these incredible testimonials, and the way to become a member of Tarvuism is by just joining us inside of a simple phrase. There's all of these quotations from the Tarvunti, which are gorgeous and super enlightening. So yeah, I really do feel like the overall atmosphere of that is very Tally Hall. I was gonna because while I was trying to find more stuff about Welcome to Now, I downloaded everything that I possibly could through the Wayback Machine downloader. I forgot, did I send that to you? The tool for downloading
No.
from the Wayback Machine?
I would like that.
Yes, so it can mass download. It can download from every timestamp. Of course, that's important for us because we know that every timestamp could hold something different, especially if the website updates or something like that. But I found some stuff that was written on the Welcome to Now thing, and I haven't read this stuff since it was still a public website, and I thought that it would be funny to at least read one of these things together. So the first entry says, "The world is full of thousands of interesting locations. There's no reason to be confined to a single place. Over the past few years, we've compiled a list that will serve to guide you. Number 1, find a place that has a bathroom. In this day and age, bathrooms are commonplace. We now know how to properly dispose of waste. Take advantage of technology. Number 2, the sky can be overwhelming. Do yourself a favor and take a break once in a while. Live somewhere with a roof. This way, you can have something else to look at. Number 3, don't cast aside the possibility of using gas. Yes, some gas is undesirable, but for the most part, you need it. Number 4, in general, it's a good idea to have a place designated to sleep. This will later help you avoid the conflict when it's time for bed and you need a resting spot. We recommend a bed preferably with a mattress, blankets, and a pillow or two. All are available at your local bed supplier. Number 5, most people stick with what they know, but sometimes it's good to live a little. When moving, be open to a place that might be more than a hop, skip, and jump away. If you get a job offer in Chicago, consider living there. Number 6, shades got their name for a reason. Not because they're shady. They provide shade at night or during the day. Number 7, a treehouse is just plain impractical for the most of us. It takes time to construct, requires a tree, and to be honest, is a little juvenile. But not to worry. If you live somewhere, you can still take advantage of the key features of a treehouse while preserving your integrity. Take a couple of blankets and find 2 surfaces above the ground to drape them over. Example, a couch and a table. You should then take a 3rd blanket and drape it vertically over one of the sides. Then put some pillows inside your structure. You now have a structure similar to a treehouse. This works, people, and you have nothing to lose. Give it a shot. Number 8, if a place has cockroaches, be calm. This tends to happen from time to time. They make spray that you can use to get rid of them. You can also call an exterminator. We don't have his number, but he's a nice guy and does a good job. Number 9, microwave! We don't have his... Oh, this is just too much fun. You should get one and try using it with different items. We found that most things, not all things, let us be clear, perform miracles in the microwave. 10, have fun. Living isn't meant to be stressful. Find a place you can rely on to be there for the good and the bad times. Don't ever feel obligated to stay where you are. Mobility makes us stronger. And most of all, be yourself. If something isn't working out, fix it and move somewhere else. Good luck! So, as you can see, that's a perfect distillation of everything that I love about the internet show, and honestly, everything that came before it. I mean, Sargasm, so good. And it's so interesting because what I make on my channel sometimes falls very much in line with internet show logic. Interestingly, was that only like 1 month before the release of the internet show? Like 1 month before the internet release, the internet show was released. I made something that followed the same format of sargasm, because I knew that all of the different segments that had been clippeted out and some had gotten shared around, that those all went together. And I think that is a beautiful format that we're in danger of losing simply by separating all of the stuff. I feel like the way that the internet show combined them together is really essential to what makes it so special. And that's I think why everybody inside of Tally Hall is so dedicated, is because it isn't simply music. It's a world, right? And it all feels interconnected, and it feels like we're exploring, that we've been welcomed into this brand new world. And so similarly, I feel like you can't just watch each of those individual clips and actually understand what it all is, what Tally Hall is. You have to see it in the internet show format. For anybody who is only watching Tally Hall on YouTube, go to their Vimeo. Watch the actual episodes, please. Thank you. I wish that they were on YouTube, on their actual YouTube channel, but
I know
that's their own choice, and I respect it. They make unfathomable choices at all times. Think of all of the things that they could be releasing that they haven't, or think about some of the things that they didn't even need to release, that they just decided to release on a whim. And when I say they, I just mean Joe.
Some of the things in Hawaii Part 2, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, where would we be without the GOT demo, though? You know?
Yeah! God.
But yeah, with the internet show, like, I feel like, wasn't it mentioned at one point that they were going to try making a second season of that?
Yes. That is correct. We could, and my guess is that it wouldn't have even been called Tally Hall's Internet Show. I bet that it, in the same way that, you know, they talk about the third album, you know, would be where we solidify our sound, you know, it'd be different than all of the others. You know, everything that Tally Hall does, it has a continuity. It has a, you know, it's all connected, yes. But everything is like an evolution, and I've noticed that they, and once again, maybe when I say they, I just mean Joe. Enjoy to not defy expectations, essentially, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of just, there has been an evolution too, and I think you had mentioned it before as well. It's just like with all of these different solo projects, you get to hear a lot of things that you would not have heard if it was made under Tally Hall. Yes, agreed.
Okay, so since we just read the clip it from Welcome to Now, I think that now is a good time to read from something else. So, as I told you personally, I've kept a dream blog for a long time, and there have been some really interesting things inside of my dreams that are related to Tally Hall, and you know, just like the few times that Joe has restarted his dream blog, and that's been since like pre-YouTube. There's so much that we no longer have of his dream blog, but I feel like since he also keeps a dream blog, since there is the Last Night I Had a Dream segments inside of the internet show, that these kind of fit into the mythos in their own way. All of our dreams are even connected. If you dream them with your heart, they must be true. Okay, so inside of this dream, Zoe, Joe, and I were walking along the street together past a white hotel. I remember that Zoe was tagging along to get me prepped for talking with Joe, since I hadn't done so last time. She told me it's really hard to ask him questions, and that every now and then in a conversation he might just stop talking, press a button on his phone, and from the display, he'd hold up the red letters on his phone that say NGA, which stood for not gonna answer. Then she left me to be alone with Joe. Or should I say, a Joan. We sat in my grandparents' house in front of the TV. Scooby-Doo special came on sometime during our little rendezvous. I remember trying to point out that I was right there on the TV, inside of the Scooby-Doo special. But halfway through explaining, I remember thinking, actually, is it really that special to be on Scooby-Doo? Like, who hasn't been on Scooby-Doo at this point? It's true. Anyway, Zoe was absolutely right about the evasiveness, so I'm grateful to her for prepping me in my dream. After pressing the NGA button, he would talk purely in nods and shakes and hand gestures and the occasional just mute mouth movement. But that's not to say that Joe wasn't pleasant. He was just cryptic and seemed to really enjoy seeing people try to get the answer out of him. I remember thinking that perhaps Joe's real beef with questions to him was that they keep people from finding answers themselves, and they also stagnate mental creativity by lessening the possibilities. I thought my questions were pretty basic, though. I was actually just trying to ask exactly how many months the process of re-recording Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum took, and how many things were actually kept, and if any songs had nothing left of the original inside of them. And I can see now that I'm awake that his evasion was actually inspired by me watching a deposition of Steve Jobs last night. Joe wouldn't come out with a straight answer and began to speak in riddles. He said it took no time at all, and then grabbed my glasses and put them on his face. After a while, I said, half as a pun, "Did you take my glasses to signal that the quick production time was due to you having such a clear, creative vision?" Then Joe just kind of smirked and pressed the NGA button on his phone again. And then Joe began eating a sandwich that had a lot of big pickle spears inside of it. All I remember was that there were loads of crunchy pickles inside and not much else. And then he leaned over into my left ear and began munching as loud as he possibly could. And I remember slowly noting that somehow, without making any vocal noises, his munches were starting to sound slowly like Joali, 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 Joali. I began to tell him that, and once again he grinned, and his last words to me were, "It's taken years of practice." And I woke up with some answers to some questions. And then this other dream was about me going to watch a movie that was supposed to be the movie adaptation of Taken for a Ride. So I'm watching this Taken for a Ride movie. In a concept, it was basically like a Beatles film, except it was about Taken for a Ride. So it was made by a super fan of the song. It wasn't made by Tally Hall. It didn't have any of the members of Tally Hall inside of it, as far as I knew at the time. The main character was this little boy, and the first 20 minutes of the film were this sort of Lego movie, sort of light, hilarious, inventive. But then it took a turn, and this insane slow-motion sequence with insane, intense, circumlocuitous, and ceaseless narration came on. And I actually found myself, breathing really heavily throughout the whole thing. So right before this point in the movie, it actually looks like everyone's problems in the movie is solved, and our character has solved some huge, underlying mystery, and everyone is going home for the night. But then, out of the blue, it cuts to two of the groundskeepers of this large building that's central to the story. And of course, the idea is that this large building has an elevator inside of it, took a step into the elevator, right? So, but then, out of the blue, so the narration goes, they've been married to each other and have been for decades at this point, the groundskeepers, and they're celebrating an anniversary. Just as they sit down to eat a quiet, happy meal together with candles on cupcakes, a giant mattress soaked with Sudafed, yes, the narration told me that, is thrown upwards through the entrance to their house, which, being at the top of the building, is actually built like an attic with a staircase that comes out of the ceiling of the floor below it. I know that's confusing to think about, but just... and as it slowly unfolds in midair, because it was folded in half, the first cool drops of liquid spread in a reserved arc through the air, which has been already filled with an invisible gas that immediately reacts to this stuff by bursting into flame. some unbelievable coincidence happens, and the wife moves due to it in such a way that she's merely knocked unconscious by the blow rather than killed. And she does so not realizing that right before then was to be the last time she saw her husband. She thought later, puzzling to herself, that he looked strangely serene, as if he knew. So imagine that in disheartening amounts of excruciating detail with slow-moving, close shots of things just caught in midair. I think it'd be really powerful. As I said, my body had an involuntary reaction to the amount of distress in this scene. There was a middle-aged lady behind me in the audience, and she turned to me and said quietly, "If the movie's too much for you, you can take a breather outside. I'm actually going to leave after this moment. I mean, what's wrong with this movie?" And I appreciated the sentiment, but I loved the movie too much to leave. I kind of laughed in response, and I grinned and said, "Oh, nothing's wrong with this movie. It's just a little brutal." And so the main character, the little boy, then has to travel up the flights of the building to the top floor where the couple are. And I started to hear cryptic jazzy mumbles of the main melody, the do 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 do, you know, going in the background of Taken for a Ride, played over the building's intercom system. And my first thought was, that sounds suspiciously barbecue saucy. It's either Joe Hawley or an excellent imitator. Wow, I can't believe they were able to sneak that into the movie so tastefully. A couple more flights of stairs were climbed, the camera work getting increasingly dizzying, until suddenly, randomly, on one of the floors, was the man himself! Joe was there! In an unbuttoned black business suit, tieless, and he seemed rather excited, like some crazed scientist on the verge of the breakthrough. Or a breakdown. So yeah, I hadn't found a copy of, what's it called? The one about the cryptid Bigfoot, Nigel and the Missing Link. Yeah. So I hadn't even found Nigel and the Missing Link, but inside of that he plays a crazed cryptozoologist who's trying to find Bigfoot. And essentially, the way that he acted inside of Nigel and the Missing Link is the way that he acted inside of this dream. So he begins to riddle me this, the boy character, with enthusiastic questions, and the last question of which was, why do I spend half of my life feeling like I'm Ernie from Sesame Street? And then, as if there wasn't already enough awesome in this scene, suddenly, Bert, honest to goodness, Bert, in the felt, was in the shot with Joe Hawley, and Bert was dressed up, badly, as Ernie. I remember that within moments, before I could process it, my friend, who was watching it with me inside of this dream, was excitedly whisper-screaming it to me, "He's dressed like Ernie! He's dressed like Ernie!" And then both Joe Hawley and Bert dressed like Ernie fought over who was most like Ernie today. And that's the last thing that I remember from that. And then there's just one more dream, if you'll humor me.
Yes,
so,
yes.
This dream was about Shia LaBeouf. And interestingly enough, if you are aware, back when Shia was doing all of his performance art, Marina Abramovic stuff, are you familiar with all of Shia's crazy antics during around 2015? Yeah, 2015.
For the most part, I was not on the internet till like 2018-ish. So.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so are you at least familiar with Shia LaBeouf's "Just Do It,"
yes,
video, right?
I am familiar with that and those related videos. Someone did make sure to educate me on that.
Okay, so you know that video was a part of a very long green screen video where he acted out a million different college art major monologues, essentially. And so during that time, Shia was part of a sort of fun performance art trio, and that was one of those videos, was one of those projects. And then he also did something called Touch My Soul, where he and his two collaborative partners sat inside of a call center and just received calls from random people. And so I decided to be one of those random people and retell Shia LaBeouf my dream.
You reached the Uncle Turner. Can you touch my soul?
Well, I guess 111th time's the charm. One of my favorite bands once asked the question, wouldn't the world be better off if we took nonsense more seriously? And I just want to tell you that I take you very seriously. You're one of the very few people in the movie industry that I feel I understand and empathize with.
Can you say that part again? Can you say that whole thing again?
Wouldn't the world be better off if we took nonsense more seriously? I just want to tell you that I take you very seriously. You're one of the very few people in the movie industry that I feel I understand and empathize with. As a fan of performance art, I think your explorations of the concepts of originality, inspiration, fame, and control have all been very noble, and I love how you've tried to become a kind of conduit for the art of lots of different people, even going so far as to become more of a reflection of the good and bad in all of us. I love how open you are to all the world has to offer, and I think you should be proud of your accomplishments. I think you're a wonderful person.
Thanks, dude. Awesome.
Yeah, I had a dream about you in 2012 where you were out in a park, and you had apparently stayed all the way like in the morning, and you had camouflaged yourself to look exactly like a tree in the park.
What?
Yeah, I thought it was you said that you just did it all the time and that it was no big deal, but I thought it was very impressive. And later on, you threw I thought it was a birthday party for yourself over at your parents' house, but turned out that it was actually, you told me it was a benefit dinner for a whole bunch of orphans who are like scholars but couldn't afford higher education because they're less privileged. And I thought that was very I thought that was very wonderful of you.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, and you said that you were going to be in a movie called Deserts in the Sahara, and I thought that you were that's a terrible title, by the way. That's super redundant, but I was like really into it. I was like, yeah, that was my favorite book as a kid. You are the perfect choice for that. And yeah, and that's basically how the whole thing went. I think that you're great, awesome, and I appreciate everything that you do.
Kick-ass. Thanks, man.
Okay. Have a fantastic day, and I hope that you stay well. I'm sure that this is really taxing.
It's not.
Really?
Yeah, that was a great dream.
Wow, thank you very much. If you want to see it in its entirety, it's up online as actual Shia LeBeouf dream.
Okay. 2 actuals?
Yeah, actual, yes.
Okay.
Okay, have a fantastic day.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Whew. I think it worked. He was... I knew that I understood him. He sounded exactly like he did in my dream. Like, exactly like he did in my dream. That's interesting. Exactly like he did in my dream.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so even and this is so funny because 2015. When would Shia LaBeouf live have been? Let me just look it up really fast.
Because the Tumblr version was in 2014, right? Like the one that got popular on Tumblr.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf live. Yes. So he probably even would have got that I was referencing at least when I said actual. But I do wonder if he had any clue what band I was mentioning and that he was connected to it in such a distinct way. Because I was trying to make it pretty obvious, you know. He is the nonsense that I take seriously.
Yes.
And he reflects the good and the evil in all of us, yes. Oh, okay. And sometimes my dreams have songs in them. And a lot of them are very inspired by Tally Hall. And so I thought that I would just quickly play these itty-bitty pieces, because I think that you'll find them funny.
Yes.
At the very least. Yeah, so one of... to kind of just quickly set the scene, so... I was at like a convention center inside of this. There was a like a janitor. There was a janitor who was helping to clean up, and I started to do a dance with him, and he said, "Oh, this made me so happy that I feel like I can die in peace now." And then he died. And then I looked at him and I was like, is he really dead? And I reached out my hand, and then he came back to life, and then he had a giant fake beard on all of a sudden. He just, he just grabs my wrist as hard as he possibly can. And then he sings this.
What? Was that about a habit? I thought all that was through. I thought I never more have it. I guess I wasn't true. You too good at the habit. It isn't so hard to do. And if you really have it, I'm sure you'll like it too. Just take somebody's hand in yours and dance. A happy time now. Come along and sing along. Come along and along and sing along. Come along and sing along. Here we go.
And then I woke up.
So, to put this in context, so the reason that when I woke up I immediately recorded it was because in my dream they were stock GarageBand drum loops. And I was like, so I have to do it now because I have those exact drums. And it's so funny because, that's the beat that's in one of the Welcome to Tally Hall demos on Admittedly Incomplete.
Yeah.
It's also used as the main drum beat inside of Drew Mokris's Jokes with Einstein, weirdly enough, which I've always wondered if there's a connection there that Joe gave that break beat to Drew to begin with. Oh, I don't know. And then this one is a lot like Convenience Store Musical. So inside of my dream, this kind of goes along with Welcome to Now and Tarvuism. So I had been unwittingly, and me and my family had been unwittingly taken to a sort of like a ceremony by a group of people who deify numbers. And they think that numbers are the most important thing in life. And so they assign every emotion, every word numbers. We don't use words anymore. And so in order to express my frustration, because they were, trying to take away my voice and everything, I started to sing because it was the only other thing that I could think to do that maybe they wouldn't try to take away, right? So.
Words won't come with all of these numbers. Strength can be found in one. I need more than simple group feelings. Finding order is fine, but I need what's in here.
Super dramatic. But I was specifically trying to get the inside some of the stuff that Rob did directly after during his solo venture. I was specifically trying to make this sound like Asteroid the musical, or Mr. President, there's an asteroid heading directly to the Earth, the musical. Did I get that?
It's a long title.
Everybody go check if I got that title right. But yeah, the sort of mock MIDI orchestral stuff I just love so much. And then I guess this is a fun thing to end off on. So this one might not seem immediately like it's related to Tally Hall, but this was during that first insurgence where all of the solo projects were coming out and everything, and Allegra had just made Tally Hall a shame. And so I dreamt that I had this sort of big video where all of the people inside of the fan community got together and sang this vocal choral piece. And then after having that dream, then I tried to make it a reality by Well, actually, it's super funny because I didn't even know that I was going to get to be a part of We Think We're Playing in a Band. And so I had this dream, and then the dream came true, essentially, because Allegra asked me if I could be a part of it, and then I was able to, bring all of my buddies together to sing something that meant so much to me. So this is essentially what it sounded like. So, and if you listen to the cover that I did, Taken for a Ride, I worked in a lot of dense vocal harmonies, which really is my thing, but I was trying to recapture just the way that felt. So since I had mentioned the whole connection with Taken for a Ride, so if you were to, say, purchase the Taken for a Ride solo release that I did, there's this big documentary inside of it that I did where I explained my feelings about the song. And so I just felt like I should share a little bit of that for context. This isn't all of it, obviously, but just so that you understand the depths of my feeling about Tally Hall in general. just to set this off, so this is a weird memory that I have about first learning about Taken for a Ride, because when the album was getting re-released, obviously, at the time, people weren't uploading all of the tracks of the album to platforms where you could listen to it. And so and maybe other people can relate to me on the subject, would listen to the 30-second previews on websites over and over and over again and dream about being able to purchase the album eventually. And so on the website, when the album was being re-released, I thought for sure that the info about Taken for a Ride said that Andrew had written it to commemorate his graduating class at the University of Michigan. But looking back at the archives, I've never seen anything about that. So maybe that's a confabulated memory. Maybe I'm combining it with the fact that so many people from the Toy Orchestra were a part of the brass band inside of The Whole World in You. That's also possible. But to me, just listening to the song, it's very clearly about growing up, just in general. And for me, when I graduated high school, the one song on my brain was Taken for a Ride. And so that kind of sets the scene. I had a very tough time in high school, and so this is a video of me right when I was at my lowest, essentially.
I guess I'm really glad that it's my last day of school, even if it ended as sadly as my first day of school at this prestigious Academy of Education. And now all of that is over.
There was a lot of hurt that I was holding on to, a lot of hurt that I'm probably still holding on to and trying to work through in my own way. After graduating, I was just kind of by myself. I was by myself among many people.
is, the whole alone in a crowd oxymoron. That's what it was. I was alone, and I was in a huge school. There were so many people just jumping and cheering and other such rampant raucousness, and I was just there, like a little dot. Felt like I was just being broken away from the gravity of the planet, being swallowed up by the noise. And the first thing that came to mind was to sing. And I sang Taken for a Ride from beginning to end. And nobody heard me, and I could sing as loud as I wanted. And it was amazing. And in that moment, everything was all right, because I knew that things always change. I think it's important to treat all your memories with respect, and never to take music for granted, because if you have just that one special song that when you hear it, you get, like the electricity shivers down your spine. Like now, when you think about the song, it seems indelibly ingrained into who you are. In this world, it's very difficult to find a place to put yourself down into,
Someone to hold on to, or at least a little bit of stability. I'm not very stable by myself.
Where you feel that you even understand a little bit of how this world works, or if anybody even understands how you feel. If you find a song that understands how you feel, gives you some footing to press on, and goodness knows we all need to press on together. Yeah, so thanks for letting me share all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It means a lot to be able to talk about this. I'm sure that you've already experienced this a lot because you're having this awesome podcast, but being able to actually talk to someone about things that matter to you that nobody else gets.
Yes, I know. And I think that is just such a beautiful part of just, like, with this community, like, that I think there's just so much where you get to find other people and get to be able to reflect these sort of different experiences and just being excited to find something and knowing that you're not alone. That's a sentiment I heard a lot kind of in the aftermath of Sonic Lunch when I was still in Ann Arbor and there was still like millions of Tally Hall fans in Ann Arbor. I mean, probably a couple hundred, but still it's just that sentiment of like, these people understand, they get it.
Yeah. And it's so cool because, I mean, every single one of your guests is experiencing this in a very different way, and I mean, bring something really special to the story, the narrative of the Tally universe.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll offer people, if you want to plug anything where people could find you or things, anything really.
You can go to SKYE'S.com. That's probably the easiest way to find me. SKYE'S.com. That's my name. The guy part is not my name. But
not on the birth certificate.
Not on the birth certificate, but they called me that a lot.
But you are the guy.
I am the guy.
Thank you for listening to Tally Talks. Shout out to Opal the Thing for supporting Tally Talks on Patreon. The transcript of episode 1 of Tally Talks is now up on tallytalks.com, which can be found on a button for cryptic codes and concerts on the episodes page. Thanks to the Patreon, I'm able to have that little boost of support to help make these episodes possible. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn more. Whether you join a paid or free Patreon tier, you will get a shout out in the next episode. You could also get a shout out by donating to the charity link in the description. Once again, thank you so much to Sky Guy for joining me on Tally Talks. Be sure to check out his website, skytheguy.com. And thank you for your support. Be sure you have a good day by Tally Hall.